Big tasks are hard to work on. When we can break a big task down into smaller tasks, they become much more manageable. Even insurmountably large tasks can become much more manageable as a series of smaller tasks, each of which is easily achievable on their own. Building smaller simplifies tasks, making them easier to define, create, and verify. Here are 7 strategies for building smaller. Hello world, I'm Scott Bernstein. Number 1, reduce iteration length. The purpose of time boxing software development into iterations or sprints is to get us good at breaking tasks down into smaller pieces. We time box as a discipline to get us good at scope boxing or building a smaller scope. This is the key to agile software development. Scrum says sprints should be anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, and most teams opt for a 2-week sprint cycle. Some teams tell me that they can't build anything of value in 2 weeks, but that usually doesn't turn out to be true. When teams get good at breaking tasks down and splitting stories, then they're able to build smaller tasks more readily. Generally, we should think about emerging features a little bit at a time. Number 2, identify observable behaviors. One benefit of test-first development is that it drives developers to write code that's straightforward to assert against. We start with a failing test that asserts some specific behavior, and then we go about implementing that behavior, which usually happens in a 2-step process. First, we fake the behavior and create what we would think of as an obvious implementation. Once we have it working and our tests are passing, then we can safely refactor that behavior to be more appropriate for the situation at hand. And remember, we're doing this with all of our code under test, so it's safe. Number 3, identify core behaviors. Sometimes we build a bunch of features because no one took the time to consider what parts were most important. Asking what's the least that we can do and still provide some value can give us insights into key pieces to build first. Getting core behaviors working can oftentimes save redoing a lot of extra work in the future and provide value to our users more rapidly. Number 4, create a walking skeleton. Alistair Coburn coined the phrase walking skeleton to mean a system that you can get working on day 1. The key is that it may not do everything that you want it to do, but it does do something. Building a system out in this way tends to be very efficient. It also gives us constant feedback as we're always able to build and run all of our automated tests. Number 5, peel off exceptions. Another way to build out a feature is to start by implementing the happy path and then peel off exceptions one at a time. Start by validating constructor arguments and then validate method parameters. Create conventions for establishing tight contracts between services and clients. So exception handling is done only once, generally either during mutation or just before it's ready to be used. Number 6, keep it testable. A task is a task because it's verifiable. A task is too small if it no longer produces verifiable results and we can't test it. A task is too big if it's hard to verify. Tasks that are easy to test tend to be the right size. Number 7, reduce cyclomatic complexity. McCabe first described cyclomatic complexity as the number of paths through conditional code. Code with no conditionals has a cyclomatic complexity of 1. 1 conditional in code brings the cyclomatic complexity up to 2. 2 conditionals in code makes the cyclomatic complexity 4, and so on. Cyclomatic complexity increases exponentially as conditionals are introduced. So keeping as few conditionals as possible in each method is important. Building smaller is better. Building smaller is at the very core of agile software development. When we can build small, we can focus on what's most important first, we can get feedback faster, and we can make our work more manageable. If you found this helpful, then check out the next video. And until then, Happy coding.